Good morning, all. It is that time of year again. The garden cleanup has begun here in my Ohio gardens. I'm focusing on transitioning to cool season crops, cleaning out the warm season crops that are finished producing, and in their place, getting cover crops planted in preparation for the fall and winter months. So in today's video, I thought I would share with you all which cover crops I'm planting and a little bit about where and why I'm planting them. Now, before we jump in, I quickly wanted to mention two great resources when it comes to cover cropping. I've mentioned these in other videos, but I'd be remiss not to talk about them a bit again because I use these almost every season when I'm planning and planting cover crops. The first, for folks like me in the Midwest, is the Midwest Cover Crop Council's Cover Crop Selector tool. This is a great tool that helps you select cover crop based on what you want to achieve in your garden and tells you when to plant. The other resource is SARE, or Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education's website. They have a page on almost every cover crop imaginable, information about its benefits, how to plant, when to plant, and how to terminate. So check those out if you've not already. But what am I planting right now? First off is red clover. Starting up towards the front of the garden, this was the zucchini bed, which I just cleaned out. There were still a few plants hanging on, but honestly, everyone is sick of zucchini at this point. So I cleaned out this bed and planted red clover cover crop. Red clover helps to create loamy topsoil, adds moderate amounts of nitrogen, helps to suppress weeds, and really draws in the beneficial insects. Here I've seeded 3 different varieties of red clover. This is actually for the seed-linked cover crop trial that I'm participating in. And side note, if you've not heard of seed-linked, check their website out. This is a really cool program that utilizes feedback from gardeners and farmers to rank varieties. You can use it as a resource to find varieties that will work well for you. You can actually sign up to participate in their trials and join the community. I believe the cover crop trialing program is relatively new, but in the past, I've participated in their okra, lettuce, spinach, and collards trials, which has been a lot of fun. But this red clover cover crop trial will be interesting. Most often, red clover is used as a spring planted cover in my area, but I'm testing these out to see how they will overwinter and perform in the spring. Ideally, this clover planting will establish in the fall, overwinter, and then in the spring, after it blooms, I will cut it down and either leave it on the soil as mulch or incorporate it into the soil. I plan on following up the clover with a summer warm season crop, something like tomatoes or peppers or cucumbers here. Similar to the red clover, I'm also planting crimson clover. But first, I'd like to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Green Chef. Green Chef is a certified organic meal kit company that provides delicious, nutritionist-approved recipes to support a healthy lifestyle. Ingredients come pre-portioned, often pre-prepped, conveniently kitted and delivered to my door, saving me the hassle of meal planning and grocery shopping. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating clean, with dinners that work for me, not the other way around. It's easy to find a variety of options to support my lifestyle goals, because Green Chef provides options for every lifestyle, ranging from paleo to vegan and everything in between. I just pick my plan and my menus each week. This week, I opted for the keto and paleo menu, and for tonight's dinner, I'm making the creamy Italian pork soup. Green Chef makes it easy to eat clean, quality food that I can feel good about. So even when it's not coming out of my own garden, I get farm fresh organic produce and quality proteins. With their new quick and easy recipes, I feel like I can prioritize my health and get a quality dinner on the table in about 25 minutes or less. Some nights I just don't have time to put together an entire dinner from scratch. And it's nice to know I can pull a Green Chef meal kit out of the fridge and have it ready to go in a snap. So Green Chef saves me time, helps me eat healthy, and has clean ingredients. But the real test, how does it taste? This soup is delicious. Creamy, savory, earthy, the perfect dinner now that fall is in the air. Now, if you'd like to try Green Chef for yourself, use my code 60Growfully for 60% off plus free shipping. Just go to greenchef.com for more details. Now, back to the cover crops. In my opinion, crimson clover wins the title of most beautiful cover crop when it is in bloom. It has many of the same benefits as the red clover and is an excellent weed suppressing green manure. In my area, crimson clover is best sown by about the 3rd week in September, and this will overwinter, and I will cut it back in the spring after it blooms. In zones 5 and north, it typically winter kills, so you don't have to do anything in the spring with it. Now, I had crimson clover planted in the back of the garden last year, but it was so pretty that this year I thought I would plant it up in the very front so that everyone could see it and enjoy it. Now, possibly rivaling crimson clover for the title of most beautiful cover crop when in bloom is vetch. Vetch has incredibly vigorous spring growth, which chokes out weeds. It's an excellent source of mineralized nitrogen, meaning the nitrogen's readily available to the following crop. It attracts beneficial insects with its blooms, and it's great for both building soil and erosion control. Like the clover, vetch is best seeded here by the 3rd week in September. It will overwinter, resume growth in the spring, and I'll cut it back at bloom stage. Now, I most often use vetch in combination with winter peas and oats, as all 3 cover crops complement each other well. For more on that mix, check out this video, but oats and winter peas work well both in mixes and when planted individually. Oats are one of the best sources of biomass or green matter, so if you need a lot of stuff to use, especially if you're using it to mulch the soil surface, oats are a great choice. Oats can also prevent erosion with their fibrous root system, and they can scavenge excess nutrients, which can actually improve the growth of the legumes they are planted with. And peas, being a legume, help a lot to fix nitrogen. They can also help suppress weeds, add organic matter to the soil, and their blooms attract beneficial insects. And all of these, again, are best planted by about that 3rd week in September here. Now, as a related note, I plant cover crops both individually and as mixes based on whatever I have on hand, but at the very least, I will typically do a mix of a legume and a cereal grain together if I'm going to mix species. Another cover crop I like to get in the ground by the 3rd week of September are my tiller radishes. Now, tiller radish you'll see referred to as multiple names, usually tillage radish, giant daikon, or groundhog radish, sometimes oilseed radish. Tiller radish is essentially a very large-rooted daikon, which is excellent for heavy soils because it creates a big old taproot, which can really drill down and break apart heavy soil. I just cleaned my shell beans and melons out of this row and planted this in tiller radish. Tiller radish can be planted in spring or fall, but my favorite way to use this is to do a late summer planting. The roots get established through the fall and come usually mid to late winter when our temperatures here get really, really cold. The tiller radish will winter kill. At that point, those big old taproots that are in the ground start to rot away, and they open up passages in the soil. All of those rotting roots add good organic matter to the soil, and come spring, when I'm ready to plant, all I have to do is brush the debris from the radish foliage out of the way, and I can plant directly into these beds. There's no need to work the soil or aerate the soil because the radishes have done the work for me. The row behind me here is where my cucumbers were planted. I cleared all of these out, and in this row I have planted mustard, and specifically the Mighty Mustard Trifecta Power Blend. It's a blend of 3 different mustard varieties, including Kodiak Brown Mustard, Pacific Gold Mustard, and White Gold Mustard. This is another one that can be used in spring and fall both. And we're on the same kind of timeline here. For me, this is best planted by the 3rd week in September. Now, the Mighty Mustard is unique amongst other cover crops in that it acts as a biofumigant, fighting against soil-borne pathogens and harmful nematodes. For more on this cover crop specifically, check out this video. I don't really have problems with soil-borne pathogens or nematodes here. The reason that I like Mighty Mustard is because it's very quick to establish. So much like my summer favorite buckwheat, with the mustard, I can get an established cover crop in about a month in the fall or the spring, which is nice. It helps to suppress broadleaf weeds. and the pollinating and beneficial insects love those blooms. The mustard will winter kill at sustained temperatures of 26 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're not going to get that cold here for a while, so this does have plenty of time to get established. But since it will winter kill, I don't have to worry about doing anything to it in the spring. It dies back on its own. When I'm ready to plant, I simply scoot that residue out of the way and plant directly into this bed. And I will most likely follow this mustard cover crop with something in the early spring, like alliums, brassicas, or peas. So my cover crops, I typically try to time out planting when rain is forecasted, but it's been incredibly dry here, and there is no rain in the forecast for at least the next 10 days, and I need to get some of this stuff in. So with the cover crops I'm planting right now, I'm planting and then running a sprinkler on them for a couple of hours just to get those seeds watered in well. Typically, I find that even during dry spells, doing this, just watering the seeds in well once, is enough to get the cover crops established and growing. Now, since we are running up on that third week of September deadline for a lot of these cool season cover crops, I wanted to take a moment to mention some that can be planted later in the season, giving us a little more wiggle room with when we're able to plant. Now, my go-to for a later planting has always been winter rye. I talk about this one in more detail in this video, but I love winter rye not only because I can plant it late. Getting it in by the end of October here is ideal, but I've planted into early December with good results, depending on what the weather decides to do. I also love it because it provides a lot of biomatter, it outcompetes weeds, and that thick, robust root system helps to break up my clay soil. I often use rye to follow up things that I'm late to pull out of the garden. So usually if I've got plants that are producing right up until my fall frost, which is right around mid-October, I'll follow those up with rye once I've got them cleaned out of the garden. Now, there are a few other options for planting late in the season. I've not personally tried these yet, but I'm definitely considering adding them to my cover crop repertoire. These include rapeseed or canola and winter oats, both of which can be planted into the second week of October here, and winter wheat and winter triticale, which, much like the rye, can be planted clear to the end of October. Now, if you've tried any of those late planted cover crops, let me know what you think about them. So I'm gonna get back to cleaning up and planting cover crops, but if you'd like more detail on cover crops, be sure to check out my Cover Cropping in the Home Garden playlist. And if you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing to my channel, Growfully with Jenna. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.